let's start with the hard question, which is, please, not that you need any introduction, because I think most people know you, but you do have maybe a little bit of a new role.
I do.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what your new role is.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, as always. So I'm Allie Miller. I am the general manager now of advertising at Instacart. And so that is new in the last few months. So
just a small job.
Just a small job.
Yeah.
It's been really fun. So I joined Instacart about 4 years ago to lead the ads product team. And then most recently, as Chris Rogers took on the CEO role, I took on a broader role to lead all of the advertising teams at Instacart. So that's product, engineering, sales, and commercial excellence. So It's been a really fun last few months.
All right. So we're here at CES and we're entering 2026 with a bang.
Yes.
It's always that, you kind of come out of vacation mode. But from your perspective, this is such a big year. What's the biggest shift brands need to understand as we head into 2026? And where is Instacart focused on this next chapter?
So 2025 was definitely a year of retail media explosion and maturity and fragmentation, as we've talked about a lot. And so over the course of the year, what we've really focused on is how do we kind of address that fragmentation in a way that still unlocks all of the value of retail media for brands, for agencies, for retailers themselves. And so we've really taken these foundations of what we've built and we've started to expand them into this Instacart Ads ecosystem, as we like to call it. So we have our core marketplace offering across 1,800 retailers. That's pushed us from the beginning to really focus on dynamic optimization and making sure we're able to match ads with the right context across a very diverse set of inventory in all of those different locations and shelves. And so we've taken that foundation and expanded it to 240 plus sites, e-commerce sites where retailers and other partners are working with us to run their own retail media networks. And what's exciting about that is then these retailers can really participate in kind of leading tech and work with our sales team and work with the brands that we've built deep relationships with, while also maintaining the relationships that they like, and then really benefiting in terms of retail media that can drive demand from a consolidated national buy, while still having the flexibility to manage their own specific sites as they choose. So what I think that brands are really starting to realize and eager for in many ways is that we've reached this level of fragmentation where it's not going to be possible to buy across literally hundreds of retail media networks individually. And so embracing more of a results-based approach and embracing an approach that's going to be focused on reaching consumers where they are in a moment when it matters, rather than kind of the traditional silos of thinking retailer by retailer or site by site or tactic by tactic. I think there's a lot of opportunity to really expand reach and expand results in a way that's going to be really bringing the best of retail media to life at a much greater scale with far more simplicity.
And you said 1,800 retailers, is that right?
On our marketplace, yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about global or locale? Is it US? Is it what are the regions?
We operate in North America today, so US and Canada. We do actually have some elements of our business that are starting to go international. So that includes our smart caper carts, our shopping carts that have a screen on the front, and are really bringing kind of the best of personalized recommendations and the ability of, understanding what's going to be relevant as you put something in your cart, as you turn into an aisle. We're starting to work with retailers internationally on that, which is really exciting. And so hopefully the best is yet to come there.
Yeah, exciting. International growth is a pretty big thing for us this year too. What are brands asking for today that's different from what they were asking for even a year ago? And how are tools like Instacart's Data Hub helping meet those demands?
Well, first of all, very excited that you're one of our first partners on the Instacart Data Hub. It's been a really fun journey to get to this point. And so what we've announced this week at CES is the Instacart Data Hub is going to be a way to bring all of that data to life, all of that purchase-based data to life in a much more granular way, where brands and partners are going to be able to take first-party data that they have and marry it with the first-party data that Instacart has in a privacy-safe environment and be able to gain, more granular insights or more nuanced insights and then activate those audiences across off-platform partners and be able to drive results much further beyond just Instacart on-platform activations. And so that really ties into what I've been hearing more from brands and partners in this space, where retail media is very much not just a capability that's, limited to on-platform advertising. It's this incredible treasure trove of purchase-based data that can help to drive more nuanced results, more optimization, higher intent audiences across partners that we're all working with, like The Trade Desk, TikTok, Pinterest, Google, Meta, and many others. And so what I'm seeing now is that for brands who are really forward-looking in this space, they're starting to bring in all aspects of how they think about marketing and reach and kind of more traditional full funnel media, looking at how they can get the best of retail media purchase-based data to enhance those results and their tactics across all of those different channels. So what I think is really interesting in that space is you start to get into some more of the more traditional media metrics, reach, engagement, et cetera. But then you're able to bring that together with how many new to brand purchases did I get? What actually happened as a result of this campaign in terms of real products that are moving off the shelves. So we're really starting to see a progression in this space. And my prediction for 2026 is that we're going to see much, much more kind of coming together out of those traditional silos of e-commerce over here, media over here. I think we're going to start seeing more of that coming together.
Awesome. And I've been stuck in this place for all of CES. So did I miss any other announcements from Instacart that you had this week, or?
So so a couple of things. So one, we announced that we're going back to the big game. After our debut last week, we announced that we're going to have another ad coming to the big game very soon. So that's one announcement. And then more recently, not at CES, but previous to that, and something we're continuing to be very excited about is we announced our deepened partnership with OpenAI on the full Instacart app experience within ChatGPT. So what's really exciting about this, and what really I think brings sort of the ethos of everything we're doing at Instacart to life, we want to really focus on the user, bringing value to the user, whether that user is an advertiser or a consumer in this case, bringing the best of what they want from Instacart to life where they already are, which is in ChatGPT. So using native checkout, you're actually able to shop and track your delivery, check out, and get a full understanding of what's happening with your Instacart order, get the products in your hands just as you do through the Instacart app without leaving ChatGPT. So this is really exciting. Of course, we're all talking about conversational commerce and agentic experiences. And what I'm excited about from an ads perspective is that this will help us to understand what's resonating, what sorts of recommendations are consumers really responding to, and that will help us to understand what's going to resonate for more of a sponsored experience in the future, what's going to make sense to a consumer who's looking to shop in this new way. And so it's really just the beginning there.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the retailers that's really innovating with OpenAI. And so to that point, are you seeing any early signals about what brands are going to embrace in 2026? And then the question brands always ask, I'm sure you and us, is how can they show up in ChatGPT? So I don't know if you want to answer that one too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll maybe start there. I think one of the things that for me has been really helpful in thinking about these new experiences, given that there are so many unknowns, right? Like the technology is changing every day. New users are discovering this every day. New capabilities are coming out every day. And so it's going to really be a journey we need to go on together. And so the number one thing that I tell brands is, let's be open to testing and learning and experimenting as we go. It's the only way we're going to learn what's going to work. I like to tie it back to what we've done on our smart shopping carts, our caper carts, because no one had built ads for shopping carts either. But the way that we cracked that was understanding what drives engagement, what's interesting to a consumer as they're pushing a shopping cart around. Okay, that's a moment of decision or influence or recommendation that might make sense for an ads experience. Here in conversational experiences, we're going to take the same sort of approach of testing and learning. And so I want to make sure that, brands aren't looking for answers. They're looking to go on the journey together. So I'm really excited about that angle of it. That said, I think the other piece we can remember is the fundamentals still matter. It's going to be about, what are consumers interested in trying? What products are resonating? What consumer behavior using tools like Data Hub or our new consumer insights portal, how can you stay on top of trends now, what's resonating in the market now? Because more than ever, last year's comps or 6-month windows of measurement are not going to help to make those decisions. So I think it's really important to stay plugged into what's happening today. And then finally, I think an area that, I at least have a hunch is going to work well in these experiences is starting to embrace the types of formats and sponsored recommendations that we've been building, sponsored recipes, sponsored occasions. These are areas where you can kind of insert your product in a context that feels like a very natural recommendation. So if you're a pasta brand, it's going to be great to be discoverable in, a pasta search, but it also will be great to be discoverable as part of a lasagna recipe. And so continuing to look at how we can build out those sort of units of information that feel like authentic recommendations to a user. My hunch is that that's going to be really helpful to build out experiences that resonate in conversational experiences as well.
Yeah. So test and learn.
Test and learn.
We keep saying, but even more so.
Even more so.
So as you look ahead to 2026, what do you think are the top 2 to 3 capabilities Instacart is bringing to market that you think brands are most excited about? You've talked about a lot, but if you have to, one thing I'm hearing from brands is they're just overwhelmed by so many things. So what are the few things that they need to really think about?
Well, I'll build on what I was just talking about with data. So I think, we are at this point, like I mentioned, where real-time, deep access to consumer insights, purchase-based information is going to be incredibly important to stay on top of not just advertising, but overall insights around how a brand is doing. And so we are continuing to invest, of course, in Data Hub, as we talked about. Our consumer insights portal is very much focused on taking those same sorts of data sets, but really packaging them up in a way that's meaningful to all kinds of stakeholders within CPG brands. So, whether it's category-focused folks or, sales and marketing teams looking at what's actually getting substituted when my product is not available? What are consumers willing to consider as a substitute? In addition to what's actually on the receipt, which is usually the data that we get access to through traditional panels, what was the real basket building process? What is the true competitive set that you may not be aware of? That's something that I think will be increasingly important as brands are working in a highly competitive space, whether they're emerging brands looking to break through or established brands looking to stay strong where they are. So that's one big one. The second is going back to what I talked about around sort of embracing this ecosystem approach. So we're going to continue to focus on how we can help retailers of all sizes adopt retail media and kind of tap into this ecosystem that we've built to make it really easy for brands to buy in one place and have their ads, appear wherever they're going to be relevant and performant across that full set of our marketplace and Carrot ad sites. And so continuing to use, our optimization and, data and all kinds of these, capabilities that we've built, really focusing on how to simplify the buy without sacrificing reach and without sacrificing results. I think that's the number 2 thing that I would mention. And then number 3, off platform. I think, we talked about, I think this will really be a year of acceleration and maturity in that aspect of the retail media space. So we'll continue to focus on deepening partnerships that we've been building and making it really easy to use Instacart data to enhance buys where brands and agencies already are. So my hope is that across all of those things, we're certainly doing a lot, we're launching a lot, but we're hopefully making it easier to kind of understand how you're doing from an advertising perspective, from a brand perspective, scale your campaigns in kind of a traditional retail media sense on platform across those different partners, and then also take the best of that data across the broader web.
Amazing. All right. So last question, and this is a little bit of a summary of what you've kind of already said, but as conversational and agentic AI reshape how consumers discover products, we're at the early phase of this. Yes. And like you said, we're at a test and learn phase. The question is, what are the top ways brands can prepare for the shift? And something that you mentioned, like as an example, you were talking about context aware. So like if you're a pasta, it being contextual in a lasagna recipe, does that mean that literally, does that pasta brand, should they produce content themselves that around lasagna recipes? Is that what you're saying? Like they should create content?
I think that's one of the ways to engage. And so specifically on our platform, we offer formats today like sponsored recipes that allow for exactly that.
So they can take advantage of what you're already building.
Exactly, to kind of learn what's resonating and what's actually showing up as an inspirational and actionable recommendation. And while that may be in a more traditional e-commerce context, I think it will help to really, drive that kind of feedback loop and insights around what's going to resonate in that same sort of recommendation focused, sort of authentic experience that conversational, commerce is going to really create. So I think it's really helpful to think about how do you want to show up in your aisle, outside of your aisle, and create these contexts where consumers will be like, oh, that's how I use your product. That's how I'm going to incorporate it into the basket I was already building. And then the other piece of this is, a lot of the fundamentals of ranking and relevance that's going to feed into many of the ways in which conversational commerce is actually showing, individual products and recommendations. So continuing to focus on those fundamentals will not be a move that anyone regrets. It will help with today's world, and it'll also help to set the foundations for tomorrow's world.
All right. Well, it's going to be a big year of learning.
Yes.
And we're excited to bring that to the community.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.